Africa's unity is the prerequisite and the only way out of poverty, out of suffering, and out of slavery. I coupled a couple of videos of some Pan-Africanists who emphasize on the fact and the need for Africans to come together, work together, accept each other in order to build Africa. Either we unite or we perish. Let's watch some of the videos, please. Toda Rabba. Let's watch. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now.
We must unite now. We must have one army. We must have one currency. We must have one foreign policy. We must be united. And I can hear the Osagyefo saying, I do not want to be the leader of that country. I simply want unity. And I'm saying that we must live here with one united government. They listen not to the Osagyefo. I can still hear those immortal words of the Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah telling his Ghanaian peoples that the independence of Ghana means nothing if the rest of Africa is not independent. I can hear the Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah.
This African Union now. There is no time to waste. We must unite or we perish.
We unite or we perish. I want to apologize to Kwame Nkrumah. Those of us who believed in gradualism were wrong. Nkrumah was right. Our generation, he says, fought for the liberation of Africa. It is the duty of the new generation to carry the torch forward.
What is happening in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger, is just the beginning of a revolution that is way past due for Africa. Africa must unite, and Burkina Faso has shown us the way. They have opened the doors. They have shown us that the bully can be defeated. Show me one country that USAID was in and education improved. Show me what country where USAID was in and healthcare improved. The end result, they mean no good. They can turn around and give us an inventory and say, as long as you have been in Africa, show us your success rate. You claim you are helping governments with education and healthcare. Show us your success rate. Africa has been the provider. If you look at Europe, Europe cannot survive without Africa. One situation that people don't realize, post-World War, when the US came up with the Marshall Plan, what they don't tell you is that the contribution through exploitation of African minerals was actually the biggest funder of the European Recovery Plan, ERP, aka the Marshall Plan. Let's be realistic here. Let's not talk about peanuts. Africa does not need the aid. What we need is for those who are exploiting Africa to stop. Africa has everything it needs. If Africa could have contributed as much as it did to the recovery of Europe post-World War II, why wasn't Africa equally developed? United Nations, it took 4 weeks to create the United Nations. Why? In order to help the recovery of Europe. The World Bank, the IMF, it took 3 weeks to create them after the Second World War in order to aid in the recovery of Europe from its own self-implosion and destruction. So no. These institutions were not created to benefit the developing world. To the contrary, they were built to steal from the developing world. Their success is based on the failures of the developed nations where they have been stealing from.
We must love ourselves. Black people are hated everywhere. You go to America, you go to Britain, you go to Europe, everywhere. How can we be hated all over and still be hated at home where we're supposed to love one another and struggle together and hold each other's hand and say to those who are suffering, we suffered like you. One day you will get your freedom. And when you get your freedom, we will rejoice together. Let us defend the unity of Africa. Kwame Nkrumah fought for this unity. Julius Nyerere fought for this unity. Gaddafi, Robert Sobukwe, Steve Biko, Winnie Mandela, Chris Hani, Robert Mugabe fought for this unity. Why must we be divided as Africans?
Are you the proper person?
I'm a proper guy.
I mean, I don't want to go too far back into history, but at various times you failed to actually file a tax return on time.
Yeah.
You've been accused of different financial offences. You've never been convicted, but some of those charges were never brought to court. But you tell South Africans, despite your own history, you are the guy to run their economy.
That's a mind of a lazy person who doesn't do his work. You will have to refer back to 15 years. I've grown up over a period of time, build a solid political party. The only thing you can keep on referring to is what you interviewed me about 12 years ago. Get something new, my brother.
No, I'm very...
Show a skill of a hard-working presenter who does his research. You can't falter me. Since I've made my mistakes on tax when I was very young, you keep on referring to old things because you are now beginning to sound like a scratched CD.